Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm going to be sharing some books I got at the charity shops today. It was, I think, the second day I've been out in the town since our lockdown has kind of started to ease, and I really enjoyed going to a couple of my favourite charity shops and prizing the books section. But first I want to start with a book I got for my birthday. It was my birthday last week and my cousin got me The House Without Windows by Barbara Newhall Fort and Jackie Morris in this gorgeous edition. It's got a little ribbon built in bookmark. The end pages are divine, and also Jackie Morris has signed it, so that's like a nice little touch and a nice little memory to have for a birthday present. Obviously not a book I bought for myself, so I don't know much about it, but I'm going to give you guys the synopsis. Discover this dazzling lost classic of nature writing from the pen of a 12-year-old child. Already very interesting. Little Eppersip doesn't want to live in a house with doors and windows and a roof. Her heart calls out for the spell of the earth, the wind rushing through high branches, the gentle buzz and hum of midsummer insects. So she runs away to live in the wild, first in the meadow, then by the sea, and finally in a mountain. Her heartbroken parents follow her, bringing her back to safety, locking her up in the stifling silence of the house. But Eppersip, I'll have to look up how to pronounce that name properly, cannot be bound. She slips away once more, following her wild heart out the door and far away. Barbara Newhall Fort's extraordinary feminist fable was written almost a century ago, and yet it speaks with clarity and urgency that the next generation of escapees and wild souls will surely recognise. Newly introduced by Jackie Morris and fulfilled with her beautiful artwork, The House Without Windows is an irresistible to the natural world and transcendent effect on the human heart. So it was written about 100 years ago then by Barbara Newhall Fort, and Jackie Morris has done the intro and also the drawing. So let's see what some of the illustrations are like. Oh, they're lovely. All the little animals are dotted throughout. They're like ink prints, like almost like stamping, I believe. And I believe it is a children's work as well. It is children's fiction, I believe, judging by the kind of tone and stuff of that little chipmunk. So cute. So this will be cherished, and as I said, something that I will probably really enjoy, but maybe not something that I would have like gravitated towards myself, so that makes it like an absolutely brilliant gift. Now on to the books that I got today in the charity shop, and I believe it was £6 for 7 books. Absolute bargain. So I guess there's no logical way to start. First one is Beyond the Deep Woods. It's the first book in the Edge Chronicles. I didn't look the Edge Chronicles up. I have no idea how long it is or anything. But because it was the first book, I knew that it definitely wouldn't be an issue. Normally, if I see books, I quickly scan them on Goodreads. For those that don't know, you can scan on the Goodreads app, and it just uses your phone camera, and you just like scan the cover and it like brings it directly up. And normally I always have my phone when I'm book shopping, and I just scan everything, make sure it's not like the 5th in a 14-part series, in which case I won't want it. But this said Edge Chronicles book 1 on the spine, so I didn't have to do that, so I really don't know much about it. Abandoned at birth in the perilous deep woods, Twig is brought up by a family of wood trolls. One cold night, Twig does what no wood troll has ever done before. He strays off the path. So begins a heart-stopping adventure that will take Twig through a nightmare world of goblins and trogs, bloodthirsty beasts and flesh-eating trees. One desire alone drives Twig on, the longing to discover his true identity and his destiny. So it just sounds like a really fun kids fantasy. And again, really like gross but intriguing illustrations. I'm not sure who does the illustrations for Discworld, but it gives me that kind of a very classic fantasy vibe. Let's see. Oh, look at that map at the start. That's so cool. I'm trying to see what year it was published to get a feel. 98. So if this is something that I enjoy, I can look into getting the sequels on my Kindle or whatever. So that's the first in a series, which I always enjoy finding at charity shops, because you can read them, and then if you do like the series, then you can invest in it, and if you don't, you just return it to the charity shop, and it was only 50p. Okay, let's stick with our children's fiction. I got Michael Morpurgo's Arthur, High King of Britain. I really enjoy Michael Morpurgo. I have not read him for probably 10 years, but I used to read him quite a lot and enjoyed it. And I love Arthurian Legend. Now, how much this is actually like literally Arthurian Legend or a story based around that, I'm not quite sure. But again, it is very heavily illustrated. I've got a lot of illustrated books today, which is lovely. They're very, I don't know, does it say where it was illustrated by? Michael Foreman illustrated it. Very like simply washed monochrome. Pictures are just gorgeous. So again, I don't know lots about this. Arthurian Legend, Michael Morpurgo, and I was in. So it says at the back, the cold of the sea gripped his legs and cramped them. His arms could no longer keep him up. He cried out one last time as the sea covered him. As cloaking fog rises around the Sicily Isles, the boy is cut off. Pursued by a relentless tide, he loses strength to fight the waves and sinks down to the sea. He wakes up in a strange bed, unsure if he's dead or alive. Across the road, an old man sits by the fire with his dog. He is Arthur Pendragon, King Arthur. Spellbound, the boy listens while Arthur recounts the story of Camelot. It is the ultimate tale of chivalry and romance, evil, magic and betrayal. So it seems like this boy comes across King Arthur and he retells his story, so that might be quite good. And then from a different charity shop, but you always seem to find these little themes running through secondhand book shopping if you do it, Michael Morpurgo, again set in Sicily. So this is May 1915, so World War One. There was another book I think which is World War One based, on an uninhabited island in Sicily. Alfie and his father find an injured girl, thirsty, hungry, with no memory of who she is or how she came to be there. Is she a mermaid, a ghost, or could she be, as some islanders suggest, a German spy? And that's all I know about it. And I do not believe I have ever read any of Michael Morpurgo's adult fiction, only his children's fiction. So I would be interested to see what his adult writing is like, because I really like his writing style. Next, this cover just pulled me in and I was hooked. This is The Bronze Tripods by Norma Martin. I just thought the artwork on the cover was absolutely beautiful. It's set during the Shang Dynasty, and it is about a girl. I'm not going to read you the whole synopsis because it's very long, but a girl called So Tao is an orphan, and she's somehow linked to the slave trade, but she really wants to escape, and somebody tells her that the secret to how to live a good and happy life is hidden in the 9 bronze tripods. So she goes searching it, and on her journey she comes across a boy, and they seem to have a connected story, but I think he's already found out the secret that she's looking for, so he guides her on her journey. And yeah, it's set at the time of, in the Middle Kingdom at the time of Shang Tang, the first emperor of the Shang Dynasty of ancient China, a time of mystery recorded only in legend and by archaeological fragments which have been pieced together. For all these things happened over 3,500 years ago. And again, this is illustrated absolutely beautifully. So that is something that I don't know anything about. If you know anything about this book, leave it down in the comments. I would be interested to look in more to the history of this book. Is there a publication year? 77. Yeah, written by Norma Martin and illustrated by Miriam King-Yee. Calligraphy, I'm guessing that's for the fancy writing for the title headings, and probably also on the back, by Young Si Fang. Interesting. It's a children's book as well, I believe. And then we have Ken Follett's A Column of Fire. I believe this is the third in the series. I own the first, but I have not read it. And when I saw the third one for £1, I believe it is only a trilogy. So I have the first, and now I have the third, and I just have to try and find the second somewhere cheap, and then I'll have all three and can finally read this trilogy, which I've heard a lot of good things about and I'm intrigued in, but there's no point explaining or even looking into what the third's book about because it won't stand. Then this was kind of the find of the day. I found The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins in a hard cover, completely like brand new condition, off the shelf, no tears, no rips. It doesn't even seem as if it's been read. The spine is completely like solid, in a charity shop for it. Well, it was £2, but the charity shop had on a deal like buy so many books get so many books free, so I got a couple of books free. So if you spread the price out, it wouldn't even have been £2. And I own all of the Hunger Games, but I have never read them, and I've never seen the movies either, but like it is something that I would be like so into normally. And I thought, like, for a brand new release, hardcover, just sitting there in the charity shop, I thought that I would take it and keep it, and then hopefully if I get round to the Hunger Games, if I like them, then I have this, and if I read them and don't like them, they'll all be going back to the charity shop anyway, and this can go along with it. So I've had the Hunger Games for a couple of years, and I definitely really do intend to get to it sooner rather than later, although I say that with everything. So when I do get round to them, then if I enjoy them and want to delve into this as well, I will. And someone let me down below, as far as I know, this is a prequel, but obviously it was only released this year as opposed to Hunger Games, which have been out for a while. So should I read the trilogy first and then try this, or could I read this and kind of see if I like it and then read the trilogy? So let me know over that one, but I think this was definitely the bargain of the day. And I have one more book that sounds just right up my alley, and that is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is adult fiction, but the main character is a child, and I really enjoy that. I love literature where the main character is not the demographic of the target audience, if you know what I mean. High in his attic bedroom, 12-year-old David mourns the loss of his mother. He is angry and he is alone, with only the books on his shelves for company. But these books have begun to whisper to him in the darkness, and as he takes refuge in myths and fairy tales so beloved by his dead mother, he finds that the real world and the fantasy world have begun to melt. The crooked man has come, with his mocking smile and his enigmatic words. Welcome, your majesty. All hail the new king. As war rages across Europe, David is finally propelled into a land that is both a construct of his imagination and yet frighteningly real. A strange reflection of his own world composed of myths and stories, populated by wolves and worse than wolves, and ruled over by a fated king who keeps his secrets in a mysterious, legendary book, the Book of Lost Things. So this just sounds like absolutely super fun, and to be honest with you, it'll probably go quite high up on my TBR. I might even read it this month because it just looks so fun and so fast paced, and it is just really like what I've been craving right now. What is with this? Oh, this is very odd as I'm skimming through. So we have just like the normal book, written as normal with title headings, etc. And then I noticed a page with illustrations on it to match the cover. Some notes. Oh, so this is not all the one book. So the book ends here. This is just the book. And then we have very personal view of the book by the author, and it's framed by these brambles, I guess, and it's about 5 or 10 pages long. And then there's of fairy tales, dark towers, and other such matters, some notes on the Book of Lost Things, and it seems to have a synopsis of loads of fairy tales. So whether fairy tales, well, it said like myths and fairy tales were the books that the child was reading. So there's the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, on the trolls, It gives a wee overview of it. Some of them, they talk about the origin of the story. So there must be a lot of fairy tales in it, and then at the back it gives an overview in case you aren't au fait with the fairy tales, which is interesting. It also might be interesting because I do really enjoy fairy tales. I may not know like of the origins maybe of them are. There's a bit about centaurs and harpies and all the different mythical creatures. So the book is actually itself only like 350 pages, and all this rest is like appendices and questions and added background reading and stuff, so that's really interesting. I'll probably enjoy like really like just flicking through that with a cup of coffee. So there you go. So we got well, obviously I did not pay for my birthday present. This was £1. This was £1. This was 50p, as was the 9 tripods. This was £2, but it allowed me to get this for free, so we'll call them £1 each. And this was £1 as well. So absolute bargain of a day. That's going to break my arms. I can't believe I carried all of those all the way home from town, which is like a 20-25 minute walk. Well, I had them in my backpack, but it was still really heavy. So I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all healthy. I'm going to be filming my reading rush TBR hopefully later today, because this is a day that I have the afternoon free on, and it'll be up in a couple of days. Fingers crossed that everything goes okay, and hopefully I will see you then. Bye.